Today we'll be finding out which piece of post-launch or downloadable content is the best in Borderlands 3 in 2024. From DLCs to takedowns, I'll be ranking them by their story, content, and loot, so you know exactly what they all have to offer. For those that haven't played, we'll aim to be spoiler free, and loot will rightfully count as 50% of the ranking, with the other categories covering the rest. And let's crack into it. Kicking us off is the Broken Hearts Day event, which if you've just started playing Borderlands 3, you might not know it even exists. It was the fourth piece of content the game received running over the week of Valentine's in 2020, but now it can be activated at any time from the main menu. The story, and I use that word lightly, consists of Maurice, our resident Saurian aboard Sanctuary, conducting research of the mating rituals of creatures throughout the galaxy, basically assigning you to ruin their love life by breaking the hearts you'll find circling around them. When shot, the hearts have different effects, which are all positive, and inject some variation in the gameplay loop. One could even argue that this event did a better job at that than Mayhem mode, even having a chance to summon ghosts from the Bloody Harvest event for a sweet crossover more ambitious than Avengers Endgame. Because it was originally a limited time event, there's not much content here. The content essentially consists of that extension to the gameplay loop, but also in the rewards achieved after breaking 100 hearts. There are 5 rewards in total, with 2 weapons on offer, the Terminal Polyamorous and the Wedding Invitation, both of which have a small chance to drop from the Looty Boy hearts. Unfortunately though, these weapons were ignored by the buff apocalypse that followed Mayhem 2.0, and they lack in the endgame today. The Wedding Invitation was the shizzle when it came out, but now doesn't hold a candle to its former self. The SMG on the other hand, let's just forget that exists. The Bloody Harvest event was the first event Borderlands 3 saw, and the first post-launch edition full stop. When the Bloody Harvest event is active, you'll be offered a mission from Maurice, which has you sent on a mission to collect Hectoplasm, a ghostly essence that'll drop from haunted enemies. You'll find them roaming around the galaxy, signified by the glowing green or red essence. Upon defeating them, you'll need to also deal with the ghosts they leave behind. Typically they'll be regular ghosts, but killing a badass enemy can summon a badass one, which will also shoot at you, and you may even find a loot ghost on occasion. Whenever any ghost touches you, you'll become terrified, which reduces your accuracy and handling. Once you've gathered enough Hectoplasm, Maurice will open a portal to Heck, which will take you to the Underworld, where you'll have to battle through a horde of undead enemies, culminating in a battle against the spooky Captain Haunt. Here's the best source for event-specific loot, which you can also get from ghosts outside of Heck. Playing in 2024, the Gas Call is the only thing of note here. However, the Bloody Harvest did open a whole new playstyle to Borderlands 3 in the form of Terror Anointments, providing numerous ways to build for that you can't find anywhere else. The addition of Loot Ghosts also serves to raise the amount of World Drop legendaries you'll find, making this DLC offer far more than a run through Heck. The Guardian Takedown is the single hardest piece of content in Borderlands 3, and there's one reason for that: jump puzzles. You know what I mean. The Guardian Takedown is a single repeatable mission that has you travelling to Minos Prime to investigate a signal of unknown origin. You'll fight Guardians alongside the creatures of Necrodefeo in low gravity as you charge some crystals, jump across invisible moving platforms, and fight a boss or two. Those bosses are Anathema the Relentless and Scourge the Invincible Martyr, which combine total around 12 immunity phases. Trust me, that's painful, amplified by the fact that one wrong jump could be your last. It is incredibly unforgiving, and thanks to that and all the other stuff you need to do, a run through Minos Prime will take you in excess of 30 minutes, and not for a lot either. The key item here is the Stinger, dropped from its first boss, Anathema. Scourge doesn't drop anything better than what you can find elsewhere. Its one saving grace is that the bosses inside can also drop weapons from the Mayhem 6+ loot pool, but other than that, there's not much reason to play it out. The Maliwan Takedown. Taking down advanced mechs and an entire army of Maliwan troops over a 15 to 30 minute period just never gets old. It dropped after the Bloody Harvest event and hit all the right notes, proving that the campaign wasn't representative of the quality of content Borderlands 3 could serve up. The Maliwan Takedown is one of the best pieces of Borderlands content, period. It starts with the Vault Hunters getting in touch with Lorelei, who has caught wind of Maliwan cooking up some advanced weaponry at their black site in Midnight's Cairn. Taking the drop pod down, you are met with heavy resistance, which you have to fight your way through. It includes 2 boss fights, the Valkyrie squad which you'll encounter first, and culminates in the epic encounter with Wotan the Invincible. The level design, the boss fights, it is Borderlands 3 at its best, packaged into a nice, infinitely replayable piece of post-launch content. Although the loot would later be surpassed, today there are still some standouts. Namely the redistributor if you run Zane, and Modes can do some crazy things with the snowshoe shield. Overall you'll find 4 exclusive guns and 4 exclusive shields, as well as plenty of world drops and potentially some gear from the Mayhem 4 Plus loot pool. The Cartel Event is the event I have active all the time because it increases the scale of every battle. While it's active, neon glowing cartel operatives will spawn in place of regular enemies, and when killed, will signal supporting cartel thugs to warp in and avenge their slain comrades. Sometimes those summoned enemies will be an underboss, granting you a chance at Cartel Event specific loot. The reason you'll find these enemies wandering around is due to Maurice snorting too much iridium off the belly of a skag or something like that. He's in the Iridium Cartel's bad books and needs you to take the fight to them. But before you can do that, you need to find out where they're hiding. Defeating enough cartel thugs will grant you some coordinates, which will lead you to Villa Ultraviolet, where the cartel's leader is hiding out. Fighting through the mansion will eventually lead you to Joey Ultraviolet, where you'll have to defeat him and a couple of his underlings to save Maurice's blushes. It's a repeatable quest that serves up a bounty of high quality loot, obtained outside of Villa Ultraviolet, within the mansion's grounds, and during the final battle itself. Included in the cartel pool are the Fish Slap, a melee grenade that surpasses everything else for pure damage, the Needle Gun, a TDR SMG with the most powerful reload effect in the game, and the Grease Trap, the #1 clone support weapon, and there's even more than that. It's definitely the best of the limited time events, serving up a takedown-like sequence while boosting the general game too. The director's cut, like the designer's cut before it, wasn't a traditional DLC. It took 7 months for this DLC to expend all of its content, but what we received at launch was some much needed character building for the lovable Ava. At the heart of this DLC is the Mysteriously questline, where you help Ava solve a series of supernatural killings throughout the galaxy. There's 4 quests in total, leading up to a pretty big plot point for the series. We also saw the first and only traditional raid boss in the form of Hemovorus the Invincible, an evolving Varkid which ends up turning into 2 towards the end of the fight. They're the only source of the Company Man, a unique artifact that boosts the stats of a particular gunmaker. Being the director's cut, this DLC also offers behind the scenes content, which includes an unused cutscene that would have made Ava far more likeable. Of course, this DLC introduced us to none other than the Revolter, which is just absurdly strong, but outside of that, the loot and cosmetics for that matter can be obtained from the 3 vault cards, which also make up this DLC. There is the Fallen Heroes vault card, which gave us the Guardian Angel, the Welcome to Pandora vault card gave us the Shaluta, and the Bunkermaster's vault card birthed the Blade Fury. Vault cards provide a system where you level them up to gain rewards. You can level up 1 vault card at a time, and they are account based so all your vault hunters can contribute to them. Where you can spend vault card keys to gain these rewards, you can also receive keys in diamond form, which will unlock the diamond loot room aboard Sanctuary, revealing a wall of loot unlike any other. Psycho Krieg and the fantastic Fustercluck rounded off Season Pass 1 with the Vault Hunters venturing into Krieg's mind to find out why psychos act the way they do. It's definitely the more emotional of the campaigns, as it illustrates his internal struggle as he is torn between his sane and insane sides. It deals with his insecurities around belonging to the Crimson Raiders and his affections towards Maya, who may or may not be dust at this point. For me, it's the best storytelling in the game and likens closest with Borderlands 2's Tiny Tina's assault on Dragon's Keep. However, content was definitely lacking here. There are no crew challenges where you fight a mini-boss, and every single one of the legendary weapons are just more advanced versions of weapons you get as quest rewards. In that sense, it was a disappointing end to Season Pass 1, and at the time, all planned content for the game. Although the weapons on show are good, they're not top tier. You have the Convergence, a Hyperion shotgun, Prompt Critical, a Torque hand cannon, and the Major Kong, a powerful COV launcher, as the best weapons on offer. Where this DLC is saved though is with its class mods. Every single Vault Hunter received an absolutely top tier class mod. Zane got the Hustler class mod for his Eraser build, Black received the Peregrine, Moses' Iron Bear got even more powerful thanks to the Flare, and Amara's melee builds were enhanced through the Muse. If you're looking for a DLC to expand each character's build diversity, despite being significantly shorter than the other main story DLCs, this one does it best. The designer's cut was a bit of a weird one, coming off the back of a final story DLC that was much smaller than the rest, and still only serving as half of a second season of content. It very much felt thrown together, moving away from the traditional story DLCs, instead offering a fourth skill tree for each Vault Hunter and a brand new game mode. Whatever story exists here comes from that new game mode, Arms Race, a broadcastable hunt for loot where they strip you of everything, and I mean everything, before throwing you into the Stormbind complex where you have to outrun a Murdercane while gathering enough loot to defeat heavyweight Harker before repeating the process again. It's commentated by Axton and Salvador more as fan service than anything else, and capitalizes on the battle royale hype of the time, but it struggles to feel like Borderlands. Alas, it is packed to the brim with some of the most overpowered gear in the game. There is simply no denying it, and you'll have to go many runs before you've got your hands on all that good stuff. The fourth skill tree provides a lot of game time too, of course not directly. Zane got his cannon along with Eraser, which made him even stronger. Black got a dominant pet in the form of the Loader Bot. Mose received Iron Cub along with skills to boost Iron Bear, and Amara got a Siren Power and skill tree dedicated to the Punchy. It's hard to quantify just how much build diversity this DLC added, but doing some math, I guess you could say roughly 33%. Adding to that the 24 legendaries found in Arms Race, with close to a third being top tier, and you have quite the DLC. After the mediocre story, Borderlands 3 needed a good start to Season Pass 1, and it definitely got that with Moxxi's heist of the Handsome Jackpot. The story involves heading into one of Handsome Jack's former casinos and robbing it for all it's got, Ocean's 11 star. It was a throwback to Borderlands 2's main story with loader bots making their return, and although it lent on that recognition of Handsome Jack in Borderlands 2, it was a safe and solid opening to Season Pass 1. Content wise, it was strong too, with it taking between 6 to 10 hours to complete, depending on whether you were doing side quests or not. And that completion time was pretty standard for a DLC coming from Borderlands 2, so no complaints there. Being the first DLC, the game has seen a lot of new loot since it launched, but despite that, there is still plenty of reasons to farm it, with many of its weapons receiving Mayhem 2.0 buffs. Completing Ember's crew challenges will have you serve the Ember's Purge, doing Torgue's ones will grant you a Scoville, the Creamer is top tier on Eraser Zane, and the Lucky 7 is top tier as long as you can maintain all its bonuses. It also fixed Zane with the Seeing Dead class mod, which still remains good. Flat got the Stack Bot, and Mose received the Green Monster. All of this combines to make a good DLC at launch, even better now. For me, Guns, Love and Tentacles has the strongest theme out of all the mainline story DLCs. The Lovecraftian vibe is strong, with this one heavily intertwined through its 5 to 11 hour campaign, as you are invited to the wedding of Wainwright and Hammerlock. Mancubus is your gracious and handsome host, with Gage serving as a wedding planner, but things start to go wrong shortly after arriving. It turns out the venue is inhabited by an insidious cult, which threatens to ruin the wedding. This DLC offers the most legendaries out of them all, with 29 new pieces of shiny gold loot. You'll encounter bosses, mini-bosses, and plenty of great side quests as you journey through Xylorgos, with Claptrap undertaking one of the most ambitious quests ever. That quest results in one of the best artifacts in the game, the Pearl of Ineffable Knowledge. The former peak shotgun, the Anarchy, is also here as a shout out to Gage, and thanks to some buffs, there's more gems for you to find too. It's a good DLC all round, story content and loot, there's plenty on offer here. The Bounty of Blood was a turning point in Borderlands 3's life cycle, setting the game back on the correct path after the disastrous launch of Mayhem 2.0. So it had to be good, and boy was it what. The story follows your efforts to take down the Devil Riders, a vicious gang of outlaws causing havoc in the town of Vestige. Along the way, you're guided by a mysterious narrator who amplifies the old western feel of the DLC. Like the campaigns that came before it, it fills 6 to 10 hours of game time, but where this DLC comes into its own is with its loot, shoddy included. This DLC only introduces legendary weapons, with a good chunk of them topping many lists today. The Unkempt Herald returns just as strong as ever. You also have the Light Show, a dominant pistol, the Flipper, an incredible SMG, and the Complex Root, a sniper rifle unlike any other. Throw in a few other contenders and this DLC is packed to the brim with powerful endgame weapons. It's that top quality loot combined with a typically strong DLC campaign that makes it the best DLC Borderlands 3 has to offer, and therefore the #1 piece of post-launch content.